Hello, I'm Simon Whistler. You're watching Today I Found Out, and in the video today, the mystery of the forest swastika and the origin of the symbol. Being an intern at a German landscaping company during 1992 meant Ökoland Dederow was handed the tedious task of looking through aerial photographs for irrigation lines in a forest located in East Germany. During the course of this, Dederow came across something that definitely was not an irrigation line, and this was in photo 106/88. Approximately 140 larch trees in the middle of the forest of green pines had turned brown in the autumn, forming a large swastika. He immediately showed this picture to his boss Günther Reschke, who chartered a plane to take him over the section of the forest, and he saw the symbol with his own eyes. The forest swastika in Brandenburg, Germany most likely had been around since the 1930s, based on estimates of the age of the trees. So why did it take more than half a century for anyone to discover it? Well, one factor was that the larch trees only changed color, making the swastika visible for a short period of time in the fall. The other factor was that the symbol can only be seen from the air, and private planes for a time were banned from flying over the region. Any commercial planes flying over the area would have been too high for the passengers or the pilots to see the symbol. No one knows who bears responsibility for the forest swastika in Brandenburg, but it should be noted that this is not the only one that has been discovered in Germany after World War II. National Socialist foresters commonly created swastikas via planting trees during the Nazi regime, many of which have only been discovered relatively recently. For instance, in the 1970s, United States soldiers in Hesse discovered such a swastika and the numbers 1933 on a hillside. Another such swastika was discovered in Hesse during the 1980s, and a backward swastika constructed of Douglas firs was found in Wiesbaden in 2000. 3 years after Dederow discovered the Brandenburg swastika in 1995, the local German officials took action. Foresters armed with chainsaws cut down 40 of the trees and reported back to their superiors that the symbol was no longer recognizable. However, a picture published in 2000 showed the foresters had been wrong. Those larches that remained after they cut the others down filled in the spots that were left open, allowing the trees to still form the symbol, albeit slightly frayed. Officials in Brandenburg worried that if the swastika remained in the forest, it would become a pilgrimage site for neo-Nazis. They also wanted to avoid a situation where stumps were left behind showing a swastika. To get around these issues, they planned to remove all of the trees in that section of the forest, but ran into legal issues in doing so as the ownership of some of the land was in dispute. In the end, the federal entity in charge of property management only granted a permit to cut down 25 of the remaining trees. Foresters again headed to the swastika on December 4, 2000. They strategically marked and cut down 25 trees, ensuring the swastika would no longer appear from the air. This all might have you wondering how the Nazis came up with the swastika in the first place. It turns out the Nazis weren't the first to use this symbol prominently. The first known record of this symbol popping up was over 12,000 years ago in the region of present-day Ukraine, with a version of the swastika carved into the tusk of a mammoth. As we traverse through history, we find that the swastika, or some version of it, was prevalent pretty much all over the world in a remarkable number of cultures. From Native Americans to the Celts to the Jews to early Christians to the Indus Valley civilization, the ancient Greeks, Romans, the Egyptians, etc. A lot of civilizations. So now you might be wondering, well, how is that possible? Some of it can be explained by cultural diffusion. Beyond that, it has been theorized that the swastika shape would necessarily be something any society that weaves baskets would be familiar with, as when weaving baskets via a square weave, this basic shape is readily apparent. An alternative possible origin was put forth by Carl Sagan in 1985. He noted in his book Comet, when studying a Chinese text from the Han Dynasty, 2nd century BC, that this included drawn comet tails. One of the depictions showed a comet with a tail that had 4 bent arms, strongly resembling a swastika. Sagan hypothesized that a comet, or comets over time, could have approached so close to the Earth that the jets of gas streaming from the spinning comets could form these arms. This would leave the swastika shape in the sky and thus lead to the adoption of the swastika as a symbol of importance across the world almost overnight. So now, how did the Nazis come to use this symbol? Well, Heinrich Schliemann found the symbol at the site of ancient Troy in the late 19th century. He thought that the symbol thus linked to the Greek and Germanic cultures, as this symbol was often found on ancient Germanic poetry. The work of Schliemann was eventually used by the Volkisch movement, which in turn ultimately influenced Nazism. As Hitler later stated in Mein Kampf, the basic ideas of the National Socialist movement are Volkisch, and the populist Volkisch ideas are National Socialist. At this time, particularly thanks to Schliemann's work, the symbol experienced something of a resurgence across the Western world. For instance, the picture we're showing here shows famed American aviator Matilda Massant, the second woman in the US to receive a pilot's license after Harriet Quimby. The picture shows her in 1912 wearing a version of the symbol as a good luck charm, which is also why certain sports teams, such as the British Columbian Fernie Swastikas women's hockey team, used it in the early 20th century. In fact, the name swastika derives from the Sanskrit word which would mean being fortunate. The swastika was also still used commonly at this time by groups of various Native Americans, with it having slightly different meanings depending on the group. In any event, Hitler was familiar with the symbol, thinking it connected ancient Greece to the Germanic peoples, as Schliemann had hypothesized. Whether he remembers it or not, Hitler likely first encountered it as a boy at the Benedictine choir school at Lambach Abbey, Upper Austria, which Hitler attended when he was a child. The school had a swastika chiseled into the monastery portal and also in the wall above the spring grotto in the courtyard. Hitler stated of why the symbol was chosen for the Nazi flag, among other design elements, saying, "I myself, meanwhile, after innumerable attempts, had laid down a final form. A flag with a red background, a white disc, and a black swastika in the middle. After long trials, I also found a definite proportion between the size of the flag and the size of the white disc, as well as the shape and thickness of the swastika. As National Socialists, we see our program in the flag. In red, we see the social idea of the movement. In white, the nationalistic idea. In the swastika, the mission of the struggle for the victory of the Aryan man, and by the same token, the victory of the idea of creative work." Given the Nazis' usurping of this once ubiquitous symbol, today it's firmly taboo outside of regions where Jainism, Hinduism, and Buddhism are prevalent. Needless to say, this has on occasion created a bit of cross-cultural misunderstandings in the ensuing decades, such as in 1999, when a 10-year-old from New York bought Pokemon cards imported from Japan that contained the Buddhist version of the symbol on 2 of the cards in the set. This caused quite a media stir when the parents of the boy complained to the company, with many misinterpreting the symbol. Ultimately, the manufacturer removed those cards from the sets that were being exported to North America in order to avoid further misunderstandings. And now for some bonus facts. Hitler was named Man of the Year by Time magazine in 1938. They stated, "Lesser men of the year seemed small indeed beside the Führer." That said, their reasoning for picking him was not to honor his actions up to that point, but to widely publicize his exploits. They noted, among other knocks against him, Germany's 700,000 Jews have been tortured physically, robbed of homes and properties, denied a chance to earn a living, chased off the streets. Now they are being held for ransom, a gangster trick through the ages. Time ended their article on the decision to name Hitler as Man of the Year on the ominous note, "To those who watched the closing events of the year, it seemed more than probable that the man of 1938 may make 1939 a year to be remembered." Time? They certainly nailed that one. And now for another bonus fact. Adolf Hitler's surname is thought by many etymologists to derive from Hutler, or one who lives in a hut. Further, Nazi isn't just the name for a one-time prominent political party, but also the Swahili word for coconut. So I really hope you enjoyed that video, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for brand new videos just like this every day of the week. Also, I've got a podcast. It's called BrainFood, and it's content just like this, just in the podcast format. But we go into more depth and really get into all of the details on any particular subject. You can check it out through the links in the description below, or just search your favorite podcast app for BrainFood. And if you like this YouTube channel, you are sure to love that podcast. But if you want to watch something else right now, check out a related video from the past over there on the right. And as always, thank you for watching.